Hi, I'm Susan Shaner with the Community Forum, and my host tonight is Xander Gibb, who is an author, artist, and online entrepreneur. Welcome, Xander.
Thanks for having me, Susan.
Thanks for coming on the show. And you are so multi-talented. So you do so many things. You have a radio show,
Yep.
a talk show. You're a broadcaster,
Yep.
a singer,
Yep.
a writer. You've also authored a book.
Yes, I did.
So how do you find time to juggle all these things, and where do you get your inspiration from?
I don't know where I find the time to juggle things because I have a job as well. I have a day job. But my ideology is that no one's going to come and knock on my door and say, hey, Xander, let's publish your book, or let's get your TV show online, or let's help you to get your radio started. So I kind of got out there and did it myself, because I think that, you know, necessity is the mother of invention. And if you need something and you can't afford to pay for it, because let's face it, most of us can't, you learn how to do it yourself.
Yeah, and so that's interesting. I wanted to have you on the show to talk from a bunch of different standpoints, that you've packaged all of your talents and you're able to utilize it all through your radio show and through your TV show.
Absolutely. Well, I started the radio show originally not just as a platform for the other things that I was doing, but because I'm very passionate about a lot of things. I love this country, and I kind of want to make it a better place. And I think that the only way that we do that personally is by opening our mouths, by talking and doing and making a difference.
Yeah.
And so that's why I started the radio show, because I was finding that all of the media that I was seeing was so biased, because most media outlets are biased in one direction or another. News is not news anymore. It's kind of like opinion with a few facts.
And entertainment, really.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And I kind of wanted to do something that was a little bit different to that. And so, my show, although it is about entertaining people, it's also about educating people and kind of encouraging people to get off their chair and go and do something, even if it's just writing to somebody to say, hey, I don't like this.
Yeah, yeah.
And a lot of my articles and stuff that I write, I ended by saying, what will you do?
Yes,
because I think that most of us are not very challenged by the people that are out there in the media, because they just say, thank you very much, I've been
I like
blogs,
that. I mean,
goodbye.
I do that with my blog too. I always ask a reflective question. So, and so your website and your radio show is Xander Monium, which I love that name.
Yeah.
And what you wrote on your website, which I love this, is Xander with an honest, unapologetic response to the world around him.
Absolutely. I think that far too many people today repeat parrot fashion and repeat like watered down versions of other people's opinion. I don't want to know what other people's opinions are that you're telling me. I want to know your opinion.
Right.
And I think that it's an imperative to be honest and true to what you feel and what you believe. Now, people are not always going to like that. I've had death threats for some of my shows.
So is your show very political? How would you frame it up? Like, what kinds of things do you talk about? I mean, you've had me come on.
Yes,
We've
I have.
just chatted and stuff like that.
Well, we kind of talk about everything, and I've gone full circle. I kind of started off as being a lifelong Democrat, and then my politics changed over the past 6 years, and I now consider myself to be like a libertarian. But I used to do a lot of very politically driven shows, and still do, and will do kind of coming up to the election, because people don't want the same thing all the time. Mm-hmm. On a magazine type show, you have to be able to mix it up a little. So
what caused you to change your political view?
You really want to know?
Yeah.
Well,
True confessions.
I was fully supportive of this administration from day one. I was very supportive of Barack Obama, and at the end of the first 4 years, I was very disappointed with his performance, from the perspective of not only did he have an excuse for everything, but he also kind of blamed the previous incumbent. Now, by the time term 2 came, you can't blame the previous incumbent because you are the previous incumbent. And admittedly, he did inherit, a difficult situation, but I kind of don't feel that he's made it any better. And that's forced my political leanings to change because doing the radio show as well has made me kind of have to assess things more, not just more deeply, but more factually, because when you see something that's put over by one side of the political spectrum, and both sides are as guilty of this, they put their own slant on it.
Yeah,
so the truth is something in between.
Yeah, I agree with you. I mean, I think we're living in really challenging times, and no matter who is in office would be incredibly challenged and be getting lots of arrows slung at them, no matter who. I think
of course.
Because all of our institutions are it's not working anymore.
No.
And we need change, and so that's a lot of the friction. So your show. So sometimes it's politically charged, sometimes not. You talk about topics of the day.
Yes, we talk about the hot topics, things that have gone on in the news and entertainment. But we also, I kind of treat my show a little bit like therapy. A couple of years ago, a very good friend of mine died, and it really affected me pretty badly. And I know the things that are affecting me will affect everybody else out there in America too.
So is that kind of Oprah-ish when you say like therapy? That's what I think of Oprah.
I am the white Oprah. There you go. I said it. Therapy for me, but it's kind of designed to help others too. And when I'm working through something, or when something kind of really bothers me, I'll do a segment on it on the show, and that kind of helps me. But a byproduct of that is that I'm also helping other people in the process.
Okay. So you've got the radio show, you've got the TV show. How is that different? What kind of topics do you cover that are different?
Oh, the TV show is a little bit more sedate. It's just coming up to the end of the second series. I kind of have the ideology that most TV shows want to put famous people on the TV, but there are some people out there that are extremely talented that wouldn't necessarily see the light of day. So I put bands that are unsigned, singers that are unsigned, in a segment called Hit of the Week. I have a segment that's filmed in London called London Calling, and we look at the London cultural issues, which is a really interesting crossover with America and the United Kingdom being like sister countries. I have a segment called The Tipping Point, which is a little bit political sometimes. And I have a segment called Xander's Soapbox, where I get on my soapbox, basically. But the beauty of Xander's Soapbox is the viewers can send in their videos and tell me what's bothering them.
They'll send them their videos?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Oh,
Absolutely.
Interesting. Okay, so definitely very interactive and can be controversial, it sounds like.
Yeah. I'm not afraid of a little controversy.
Okay. And you were also originally a minister as well.
Yes, originally, a long time ago.
Yeah.
Yes, I was.
So where does that come into play with all of this?
I kind of felt a long time ago when I was in my 20s that was what my calling was. I always knew that my calling was to kind of help people. And for quite a long time, I thought it was kind of like a religious calling. But I had lots of conflicting issues with the church. And with religion, and kind of whilst I still believe, I believe for me it's about faith, because religion is about control, but faith is about a loving relationship between man and God, and so that's kind of the difference for me. And although I'm still ordained, I don't practice, but my shows and my work is still my ministry. It's a different direction, but it's still my calling.
And then, so you've used these different vehicles, being a minister, the radio show, the cable show, really as platforms, you said, for kind of sharing your message. What is the kind of the core of your message in terms of how you want to help people?
I kind of think the core of my message is that I want people to make the world a better place, but that's not going to just happen with me or even just you, respectfully. It's only going to happen when we all come together and start to work together irrespective of difference. And I think that is the core of my message, and I've evolved as part of that message too. I think a few years ago I had a very set view of the world and how things were and what I believed, but I think that has to be kind of changeable.
Yeah.
Because we're all fallible. We're all human, and we all learn things differently and at different paces. And so I always have to be open to change.
Yeah, and you've created all this really from nothing yourself. And you said that you've got, is it 1 million viewers on the radio show?
Yeah, I get.
I mean, not viewers, listeners.
Some weeks I get over 1 million listeners on the radio.
That's a lot of listeners.
When I first started to do it, I would have been happy with like 50 people listening, and it just grew. And
How did you grow all that? I mean.
Well, it grew very organically, but I had to kind of do the work on the internet too. And in order to build up an internet following, you really have to be on as much as you possibly can. You need to be sharing stuff. You need to be making comments. I mean, it's very hit and miss sometimes, because sometimes you can make a comment on social media and you're in front of the firing squad the next day.
Right. You said you've had death threats.
Yes, absolutely. And so, you know, I really think that you have to either be very careful and say nothing, or just be totally true to yourself. I'm a little bit more reserved than I was maybe 3 or 5 years ago, but I still kind of, I don't attack it from a combative way anymore. I want to learn with you. I want to change and grow with you, which is different. And I think we all grow and evolve in that way.
And then you've got, 14,000 followers
on Twitter, yeah.
So how do you build that up? I mean, some people would say, oh, that's nothing. I mean, 14,000 I think is, you know, that's a lot.
Well, considering I'm not like, you know, a big star, it's kind of a lot of, it's quite a lot of followers.
And you do have some stars following.
I do. People like Roseanne Barr, Rosie O'Donnell, who else?
So how do they find you?
I have no idea. I follow most of these people that follow me back. Fran Drescher, hello. You know, I'm always amazed. And when I get feedback from people like Yoko Ono who say that they like my music, I'm kind of like,
really?
Wow,
She said that? So what if somebody was trying to create a following online, what advice would you give them?
I think that essentially you should get on there as much as you can, be sharing as much of your own thoughts and ideas as possible, and follow lots of other people. Follow everybody you can follow.
Because it's very noisy out there.
It
online.
is.
It's very noisy. There's a lot of junk.
You got to filter it.
Yeah.
I mean, just
you can waste a lot of time.
Yeah. I mean, just this week I've had like 15 porn pages follow me.
Oh, God.
And so I have to kind of like delete and block. But I think the majority of what, I don't read all of my feed. I kind of just read what I'm tagged in. Because that kind of makes it a bit more, you know, it streamlines it a little bit for me. But I definitely think following as many people as you can to begin with will kind of bring followers to you, because not everybody will follow you. I mean, for some people it's a bit very kindergarten-y. I'm not following you back because I don't know you and I don't like you. But I think a lot of people just really want to follow. Oh, Twitter is very much like that.
Really?
I mean, I've been involved in Twitter wars, even with famous people.
Really? That's crazy.
Annie Lennox, for instance. I had a Twitter war with Annie Lennox.
You did?
I did.
About what?
About Israel. She's anti-Israel.
Yeah.
And her reasoning for being anti-Israel is not because of anything that's going on in Israel. It's because she was married to an Israeli guy, and it didn't end very well. But her commentary was just so, you know, negative and unnecessary. I had to say something to her, and so she blocked me on her pages. So I put a picture on Instagram that said, you know, I can buy your CD, but I can't disagree. And it went viral.
What did you say?
I said I can buy her CD, but I can't disagree. So I can buy Annie Lennox's product, but I'm not allowed to disagree with her ideology.
It went viral?
Yes, it did. Thousands of likes.
Did other people comment on it, or you just got all the likes?
Well, they did, and kind of people that were really into Annie Lennox and she can walk on water and do no wrong kind of didn't like it. And
what did she say? Did she find out that that's what you just said?
Well, yes, her people obviously did, because they blocked me on all her social media pages.
Oh.
But I think it was imperative to say something. It's one thing if you base your opinion on the facts, and I'm I'm all for that.
Yeah.
But if you base it on other things, that's not good.
Yeah, this whole online reality, it's a whole different world.
It is totally different world.
It can get a little crazy.
Yeah.
But I find that it's, like you said, you have to be really targeted and know either what your message is or who you want to follow and listen to, because otherwise, who has time to sift through it all?
Right.
And it is very noisy. It's so many people vying for attention and airspace.
I think you're absolutely right.
How do you sift through it?
Some people are on the internet 24/7. I mean, I use it a lot because I use it as a marketing tool.
Yeah.
But I just wonder how some people manage to do a job and still be on.
I don't know. I mean, like, I
online.
won't go on for a couple of days, and then I'll go on and I'll post like 5 or 6 things.
Right.
My bad days, maybe I'm like 8 things on my Facebook page or something. And then people will say, "Oh my God, you're on there all the time." It's like, no, I'm not.
Yeah.
I just see stuff and I look at people's things like, "Oh, I like that," and I just post, and then I'm off. You know.
But the dichotomy of it is, if you are on a lot, and then because I haven't been on social media all day today until this afternoon, and people who follow me were like, "Where are you, Xander? Are you okay?" So
if you're on and they're used to you and then you're not.
and then you're not there. Well,
Yeah.
I suppose that's not such a bad thing, but I always find it kind of funny. You know, I have a life, I have a job, I have other things other than social media.
Right. The other thing is you've also written a book.
I have.
The Boy from Beyond the Ice House.
That's right.
So what is that about?
Well, it's a work of fiction, but it's loosely based upon my life and the experiences of my life, growing up in a mixed up world. And
What's the Ice House?
well, the Ice House is a place where it used to be an old factory that then closed down, and then some investors came along and turned it into a Christian center. And it's where I kind of became a Christian. It's where I found out about Jesus and what he'd done for me. And it was a very kind of prolific place, because me and my friends used to go in there just to kind of keep warm and get free food and things like that.
This is really true in real life? And so you based the book on it?
Yeah, exactly. And so it was a very big part of my life growing up. And I kind of think that it was very metaphoric in a way, because the building was kind of barren for a long time, and then it became this, center of religion, for want of a better word. And it kind of went from this dark place that was boarded up to this big, bright, rejuvenated
interesting.
building. And I thought it was very kind of metaphoric with regards to going from not being a Christian to being a Christian.
Yeah. And so it's from beyond the Ice House, so
yes,
in terms of your journey as well.
Absolutely. I had a difficult childhood, and I encountered lots of things, some not so nice. And I actually, when I was growing up, thought that I was alone in all of these things. But obviously, as I got older, I found out that lots of people had these experiences too. But the whole ideology about wanting to help people, I kind of wanted to do that in the book too.
So what's the core message of your book?
I think the core message of my book is about being yourself, and whatever that self is, because I ran away from myself for so long, whether that was because of the church or my family, or what I'd been taught was right and wrong.
Yeah.
But I really kind of feel the real message of the book is about being oneself.
So, you've made some, it being tough. And so when somebody's had a tough upbringing or some things that have been damaging to them, and the message is, be yourself, that can be really hard. So what in the book, like how either you in real life or the character in the book, how do you do that when you haven't had the support that maybe somebody else might have had?
I think the world has changed, and thankfully for the better. But when I was growing up, some of the things that I was experiencing were kind of seen as very kind of like taboo. I'm gay, and I knew that from a very early age, and I felt isolated because of that. And I think although things have changed for young gay people, I think there's still an element of that. And you know, there's a part of the book that talks about, you know, coming out and that kind of thing. And for me, I kind of think part of my message is that you have to do what's right for you.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
And I don't know, I've had lots of positive feedback about the book. You know, people who I grew up with kind of identify with it too, and identify with the struggle, because the area that I grew up in was you know, inner city, and you know, the industry changed in the town, and so there were periods where, you know, my parents didn't work, et cetera, et cetera. So, and I grew up in the 70s. I'm 35, honestly. But I kind of think for the time it was going on in lots of places too. You know, the world was changing, industry was changing.
Yeah.
And although my view and my story is kind of not unique, it kind of is from the perspective of that I survived it, because not everybody that was around me at that time did.
Oh, really? Some of the people that you grew up with?
Absolutely. I've lost a lot of friends to drugs and just life in general, you know, and I think that...
So what enabled you to where's your resiliency? What enabled you to overcome this?
God.
Yeah.
My faith, although it initially broke me, because I think sometimes we have to come prostrate before God to start to see a way forward.
Yeah.
But my faith is what has got me through and continues to get me through.
Yeah.
And I kind of think that living in faith and not fear is the imperative for me.
Yeah.
And that's been an enormous battle, you know, for someone that has kind of suffered with depression and things like that, to actually come through that and actually acknowledge that, you know, it's God that got me through is just a wondrous thing. It really is.
And you self-published the book.
I did.
And so you're selling it online. So how, like, if somebody's interested, how to know how to do that? I mean, you've taught yourself all this.
I have. Well, simply, there are companies out there that you can take your finished item and they will Kindleize it and all of these other things. So they make it in an acceptable format to be used electronically. But they charge you a huge fee for that.
Yeah.
Now, I encountered some pitfalls in the first book, so that will help me with the second.
You're writing your second book.
Yes,
Okay.
I'm writing the second book, and I wish I'd kind of got a better editor, so I had to have it re-edited. And I wish I'd not used a company, because I mean, I won't mention names, but there is a company where you can put it on for sale yourself.
Yeah.
But I would recommend that everybody gets a good editor to edit their book, because if you put something out there that's not well written,
Right.
it doesn't work. You're not going to make any money, and I don't think that it's going to generate any interest, and it makes you look silly. So get it edited, get it looking good, and then find companies that will put it on for sale. I mean, they're going to take some money from you. They're going to take a commission, but let's face it, everyone wants their cut, right?
Yeah. And so then do some of the people that are following you, I mean, you said 1 million listeners or Twitter people, they're interested in your message?
Absolutely. It's funny how many people have found me through the radio show, and then have been like, Xander, you're a singer too, or you're a writer too. I didn't know about that. Because I do talk about it on the show, but I don't want to use my shows as just a whole platform to say, hey, buy this, you know?
Well, I've heard your music. You have a good voice.
Thank you.
You do. So, I mean, what advice would you give someone who was trying to utilize social media as a way to create a following? I mean, you said something once to me, which I thought was interesting. I never really thought about it this way before, that you don't go looking for your audience, they find you. Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. It's absolutely true. I kind of put it out there that this is what I'm doing. And I think initially you have to rely on family and friends to share your stuff. I mean, they'll get sick to death of doing it.
Yeah.
But they'll do that for a while for you. But it's kind of like the theory of the 6 degrees of separation. If I share your post, and I've got 14,000 followers, that's 14,000 potential people, and if they share my
it's the exponential
sharing, exactly. And I
Yeah.
think it's the networking of social media that is really the way to go. But it's about kind of targeting your message.
Yeah.
You know, because you have to cast a very wide net to begin with, and then you have to target. Because if you target immediately, you're not going to know where your audience is. You know.
So how do you know at what point you start to funnel in?
I don't think it's a conscious thing. I think it kind of just happens. You know, I started a mailing list very, very early on, and so I could tell people what I was doing, where I was going to be, where I was going to be performing, et cetera, et cetera. So I send out a mailing list, a mail out every week, and then people can go to my website to add to that too. So people hear you once, and then they go to that to actually find the whole deal.
Yeah.
You know?
So we've got about a minute left. So where do you want your work to take you?
That's a very good question. I really don't know because the irony of it is that I don't do the work does me. You know, I don't write the show writes me. I don't write my music writes me. It's kind of a creative process that when you're truly creative, it happens. You don't make it happen. So I don't know where
So
it's
it just
going.
sort of comes through you, like like when you have a show like next week, right? I mean, you're going to a daily radio show,
yes,
right?
we are. From the 18th of January, we're going to be a daily show. That's like 5 days a week.
So that's free for people. It's on the internet.
Yeah.
Right. So you're saying it just sort of happens. I mean, you get ideas, or ideas for guests or topics,
Absolutely.
or.
But the biggest thing is don't give up, because there are so many people out there that are trying, but I would rather die trying to do the things that I want to do than just be sitting on my butt watching the TV.
Yeah.
You know?
So if somebody was interested in, you know, like what you had to say tonight, or they just wanted some advice maybe about social media or whatever, how would they contact you?
My website, xandergibb.com. There's a contact form on there where you can ask me a question or you can send me a video.
Okay.
No
Xander,
profanity.
Xander.
XANDRGIBB.com.
Okay, great. All right. Well, thank you for coming on the show and joining
Thank you very much, Susan.
It's been great
It's been a
having you.
pleasure.
So I'm Susan Shaner with Community Forum. Until next time, thank you for joining us.